despite the fact that I'm a huge stand-up comedy fan, I don't actually talk about stand-up shows that much here, and I might have to change that, because there are some really great ones that I want to recommend. But one that I was particularly intrigued by is one that I watched for the first time just now, and it's Alan Davies' Little Victories. And I was really curious about this one going into it, because I have adored Alan Davies for 11, 12 years, ever since I first started to watch QI. And then I went on to watch Jonathan Creek and explored his work more, but I'd never seen his stand-up. And I thought I'd give this one a watch. This is from a tour he did in 2016, and it was apparently filmed in New Zealand. He doesn't actually do any audience participation, at least in this. I don't know how much of the actual show was omitted from this. I think it's about 1 hour and 20 minutes on Amazon Prime, so it's pretty much a bulk of it. And that's rare, because usually they're about an hour long. And it's an absolute delight. I really like his comedy style. Now, I have to say, it's slightly biased. He poked fun a lot at Hampstead residents. We are both residents of Hampstead, so that is something that I found absolutely delightful. I love living here more than anything in the world, but it's sometimes good to poke fun at yourself and where you live, and he does that at several points, and I enjoy it a lot. But the main things he discusses here are parenthood, being a father to his 2 children who are both quite young. I think the girl was 5, and I think his son was a little bit younger at the time. And he also talks a lot about his father and his father's early days of Alzheimer's. And that is something that's really interesting. A lot of comedians kind of touch upon more serious subjects and things that are very personal to them. But this one takes up a lot more of the show than I would have expected. And don't worry, despite the fact that it's quite a serious topic, he does it in a very entertaining, funny way. Of course he does. It's Alan Davies. He knows how to handle these subjects. And it's really, really eye-opening, because he mentions things that are, kind of day-to-day, I guess, if you have a parent or a relative, anybody with early onset Alzheimer's or Alzheimer's. But he does it in a way that kind of just stops and makes you think, while you're also laughing. And I really like that. He also has a gag about jam within that story that I didn't know where it was going, and it took him by surprise. We do get to hear a lot about his childhood, and just thinking of little Alan Davies is quite sweet. My favourite thing he said, and I'm not going to spoil the actual joke, but just look out for the line about Jonathan Creek on a bike. Just the way he said it, it's the one time when watching this that I laughed out loud. Obviously watching this on my own, watching it on Amazon Prime, if I'd been in the auditorium, would have laughed out loud the entire way, because laughter is infectious. But I did actually splutter laugh at that point. Very entertaining. The other thing I love about this is he doesn't constantly laugh at himself. There are some comedians who can barely get to a punchline because they laugh either maybe because they just find themselves hysterical. There are some stand-up comedians who are like that. Or there are some who are perhaps nervous that the punchline won't work. But no, he doesn't laugh at himself too much. But he does have a little chuckle on stage. He's got a great personality. And he still feels like Alan Davies. It does just feel like, if you've seen him on QI, he'll start an anecdote. And, the anecdote will last a minute or whatever at the most. But it's relaxed, it's inviting, it's funny. You feel like you're having a conversation with a friend. And that's kind of the vibe he gives off here as well. Absolutely true to who he is. I did think maybe Alan Davies, the stand-up, would be quite different to Alan Davies, the I was going to say panel show contestant. That doesn't really seem like the right way to describe him for QI. But however you wish to describe him, I love this. Also the line about baby bells as well, I absolutely enjoyed that. Definitely check it out if you like stand-up of any kind, but particularly if you like Alan Davies. I will definitely be seeing if I can find his other stand-up. I'd happily see him on stage. I have seen him quite a lot in life, both in Hampstead and when I've gone to see recordings of QI. But seeing him in stand-up would be a different kind of atmosphere, I think, and I think it would be a very, very entertaining evening, without question. This was actually the second stand-up he did relatively recently after quite a long break from stand-up. So seeing some of his earlier material might be quite fascinating, and I think I'll dig some of that out as well. But for now, Little Victories is pretty great. In fact, it's better than pretty great. I absolutely loved it. If you don't know who Alan Davies is, you'll still find it funny. It's observational comedy. You'll relate to it here and there. You definitely don't really need to know who he is to enjoy it. There are a few stories, particularly the one about when he was abroad. I think maybe in those cases, if you know Alan Davies well as an actor or a comedian, you'll get more out of it. But for the most part, observational, you can relate to it. It's good fun. It cheered me up to no end. I really needed this. It was just one of those days where I needed the laughter, and Alan Davies delivered. Little Victories is great, and I'm more than happy to recommend it.